This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
The head of the International Energy Agency, IEA, on Monday said that the chance of higher oil prices had increased sharply after a new pact between producers to limit supply. The OPEC+ group of oil producers, which comprises the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and allies including Russia, agreed on a new oil output deal on Sunday. The prospect of higher prices has increased a lot. As a result of the deal, Fatih Birol, the IEA's executive director, told a meeting of global airline leaders.
Oil prices rose by more than $1 a barrel on Monday after top crude exporter Saudi Arabia pledged to cut production by a further 1 million barrels per day, BPD, from July to counter macroeconomic headwinds that have depressed markets. Brent crude futures were up $1.81, or 2.4%, at $77.94 a barrel by 11:14 GMT after touching a session high of $78.73. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude climbed by $1.84, or 2.6%, to $73.58 after hitting an intraday high of $75.06. Both contracts extended gains of more than 2% on Friday after the Saudi Energy Ministry said the kingdom's output would drop to 9 million barrels of oil per day in July from about 10 million barrels of oil per day in May. The cut is Saudi Arabia's biggest in years.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Ports in China's Shandong province are demanding more detailed information about oil tankers that are more than 15 years old that call at their terminals, sources with knowledge of the matter said, potentially delaying the unloading of crude shipments in the world's biggest oil importer. Last week, the Maritime Safety Administrations at Qingdao and Rizhao notified shipping agencies to submit details on their ship's age, where a ship is flagged, insurance coverage, and any instances where the ship changed its name and ownership in the past 36 months as well as past inspection records, said Chinese oil imports agent.
Russia's seaborne diesel and gasoil exports were 21% lower in May from a month earlier at about 3.1 million tons as seasonal refinery maintenance cut supply and domestic demand rose, data from traders and Refinitiv Icon showed. Idle primary oil refining capacity for May has been revised up by 500,000 tons from the previous plan to 5.0 million tons as several refineries extended maintenance. Since the full EU embargo on Russian oil products took effect on February 5, traders have diverted diesel exports from Russian ports to countries in Africa, Asia and the Middle East. Previously, Europe was the main buyer. Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
Peru's copper production soared by 30.5% in April versus the same month a year earlier, due to the good performance of mines including Las Bambas and Cerro Verde, the Ministry of Energy and Mines said in a statement on Saturday. Fine copper production in April shot up to 221,999 tons, the statement said, compared to 170,168 tons in April 2022. Peru is the world's second-largest copper producer and the red metal is an important generator of income for the country's economy.
Aluminium available to the market in London Metal Exchange, LME, approved warehouses fell to near 4-month lows after large amounts of inventory were earmarked to leave the LME system, data from the exchange showed. Total stocks of aluminium in LME warehouses stand at 579,025 tons. Of that, 42% or 243,525 tons has been set aside or cancelled for delivering out over coming weeks. LME stock data published with a 2-day lag shows fresh cancellation of warrants, documents that confer ownership, of 56,425 tons in Port Klang in Malaysia, where cancelled warrants now amount to 79% of the total stock. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. Russia's foreign ministry said on Monday that it saw no prospects for extending the Black Sea grain export deal, which is set to expire in mid-July, Russian news agencies reported. TASS news agency quoted the ministry as saying that it was continuing consultations with the United Nations, and that ship inspections had resumed. RIA news agency said a new round of Russia-UN talks would take place in Geneva on June 9. The deal was originally brokered by Turkey and the United Nations last July to allow Ukraine to resume exports from its southern ports, which had been blockaded by Russia since the start of its invasion.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.